I'm in Hartford, Connecticut this week. Straight line of sight to the Capitol seems to be a little bit of a trend that is occurring. I've been trying to think about what I actually want to talk about, and there's something that's been weighing on me. In recent years, we've started to see this trend where there's this turning of the guard. Senior executives are shuffling around, and there's a myriad of reasons for that. Some executives, they're just getting fed up and tired of dealing with toxic workplace environments. So today, I want to spend some time talking about 5 things that you as a senior executive need to understand about the people on your team to be able to attract and retain the best talent. 5 things: identity, opportunity, purpose, inclusion, and reward. Identity. I'm starting to see a lot of executives that are really focused on building their own personal brand. Now, this can be a touchy subject. A lot of companies, they're just not comfortable with the idea of their senior leaders building something on their own. The unfortunate reality is that if you let them build something on their own and it is aligned with the vision, mission, and culture for an organization, that you are going to be able to retain them. It's that simple. They are not a threat. They are not going to bounce. If you allow them to build their personal brand, to be able to maintain their own identity that is aligned with the company, you're going to be able to keep them around. It's simple as that. Opportunity is another big one. Now, as executives ascend in the senior leadership ranks, there's fewer and fewer opportunities for them to get promotions and bigger titles. But what you can do is give them opportunities to step into an entirely new domain. Maybe give them a chance to take on a big initiative that's a little bit outside of their comfort zone, but it stretches them, it helps them grow, it gives them more exposure so that they can do big things. They can continue to build their own identity when you give them that exposure. The next thing that I want to touch on is purpose. A lot of executives and even managers and directors, for that matter, they get to a certain point in their life and career and they start to kind of lose their purpose. They just have their head down, they're focused on doing their job, they're doing a great job, but they don't have a greater purpose or vision that they are chasing. And if you, as senior leadership or the company, can help them find that purpose and let them pursue it on their own, as long as it falls within the guides of the organization, you are going to do big things. They are going to do big things, but you have to let them run. You have to create an environment that is conducive to somebody being able to identify that purpose and then chase that purpose. Inclusion is a tricky one because we spend so much time in our domain. Think a CIO that's just focused on digital transformation. And then you think CISO focused on cybersecurity. And then HR focused on HR and people sides of things. They're so focused on their individual domain that they don't really get included in some of the other bigger things and initiatives. What's so unfortunate is they can provide a lot of value if you give them the chance. You just have to include them in the conversation. Now, there is a delicate balance that has to occur here because if they don't have their own house in order, if their own team isn't functioning and performing at a high level, you probably don't want to start giving them exposure and pulling them into other conversations because they do need to get their own house in order first. But pulling them into more conversations so that they can have more informed discussions and they can make more informed decisions for their own team and their own way of impacting the business. The last one, obviously, it is an important one, but it's not the most important thing. That is reward. And this comes in many forms. It can be your base salary, your bonus, your LTIP, equity. You have to understand what is important to this executive in their season of life that they are currently operating in. When you're working with younger executives that are hungry, maybe they just get a new family, they want to make a lot of money. Maybe they want to go on vacations and trips and buy boats and cars and all sorts of cool things. If you can provide them with a higher base, that's probably going to draw them in. Now, also, there is a real reality that occurs, especially for those that are in revenue generating roles, sales. Most of them, all they care about is the money. Now, you need these people with a caveat that if they only care about the money, but they are a toxic black hole of negativity, you probably don't want them. However, usually when they are so focused on the money, they will sell, they will close, they will deliver results. But you do have to factor in what the expense is, not just monetarily, but what other factors come into play? Are they destroying the corporation and other teams in the process? So definitely something that you want to be aware of. Now, why are all 5 of these things so important? Well, as a leader, you have to understand which of these is most important to each member of your team. This also gets especially fun because as people move through different seasons of their life, sometimes those priorities shift. As I mentioned earlier, the younger generation, when they are hyper-focused on building, they want to make as much money as possible. Okay, great. When they get into later seasons of life, they've accomplished a lot of things, they put their dent in the universe. Maybe they're having a family now and they want to have a little bit more time off, be able to still build that identity, but also have more vacation time, a little bit more of a laid back schedule where they can kind of come and go as they please. And when you think about how challenging that can be as a leader to understand where Joe's at in this season of life, where Kelly's at in this season of life, and then Jacob and then Jason and all of your other leadership team, it's a lot of work. Welcome to leadership. These are the things that you have to focus on. If you want to attract and retain the best talent, these are the skills that you have to start developing. You have to start to understand people at a level that you probably never have before. When you were earlier in your career, it's all focused on getting the work done. Once you ascend into the C-suite, it's all about the people on your team. How do you attract them? How do you build relationships, trust, respect, rapport? All of these things start to factor in. When you start to get a handle on all of these things and can pour into each person and give each of them exactly what they need, you build an unstoppable team.